You look so prepared, man.
Good, no?
Aditya, are we live on YouTube right now?
Oh, we are. So we better get formal. So
Still in the
I
process.
am just trying to see. I mean, I've seen my last memory of a man is at the club, all of them in their formal gear, and now to be doing it from home. I mean, it just doesn't look formal enough.
I know. We were just discussing last night that very soon, hopefully, we are going to be back in school, and the next month is going to be in person, hopefully.
Akanksha, listen, send the link to the YouTube live stream on all community groups after 2 minutes at 8:58. So that 9 o'clock, by 9 o'clock, I think everyone should join in.
They've started MUNs in America physically. What
They
I've heard.
started MUNs physically even in Gujarat.
What?
Yeah,
God bless them.
because
It's interesting. Gujarat. But like what? 50% occupancy or what?
it wasn't occupancy, it's gone back to the normal.
This is the thing with Gujarat, man. Like, do whatever they want to do. Like,
Tell me a little bit about the guests today.
So, ma'am, we have two chief guests coming in today. The first one is Mr. Manish. He doesn't go by a surname. So, Mr. Manish is currently the Consul General of India at Vancouver, Canada. He has been a part of the Ministry of External Affairs and been a part of the IFS for over 22 years now. And he has had multiple positions, like he's worked with the Asian countries like ASEAN. He's worked with that as the Director General for bilateral trade agreements. And uh, the second chief guest we are having is the ambassador of Tajikistan, and he has been stationed at Tashkent, Russia, and a lot of other places as well. Kabul, and Tahran, and all of those places.
How
And
did we contact them?
ma'am, they're all my father's batchmates.
Okay. So and are they based here? Are they logging in from India, or are they
They're
based
all in. So,
at
Mr. Manish is
Canada?
currently in Vancouver, so he'll be joining us from there.
Okay.
And Mr. Virat is in Tajikistan.
So the timing for them it will be for
So,
Canada it's
yes,
night
ma'am.
time. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. For Mr. Manish, I think it would be 9 p.m. right now, around somewhere around that. And Tajikistan is half an hour behind the Indian Standard Time. So, and for the closing ceremony, we are having a former civil servant who's currently working at the World Bank. World Bank has 9 development partners under it. So he's heading one of them, that is PEFA. And he is the closing ceremony chief guest that we're having.
So at the closing, would you be first, giving the closing the report, and then we'll see how is it?
So, ma'am, in the closing ceremony, there'll just be a vote of thanks of sorts by Director General Akanksha, Aaron Debsakjan, and me. After which, we'll have the chief guest speaking for some time, and then we'll have
The
you.
report.
Post which, we will have all the awards and everything. Awards will come secondary.
Okay, sure. Because sometimes when the guest is there, it becomes very long for them to
Yes,
give
ma'am.
the report. But maybe you could give a summary of what happened.
Absolutely, ma'am. In our speeches, we'll make sure that we mention all of that.
you know what's fascinating is he's a consul general, and they're specifically looking at trade. So he doesn't work at the embassy. He works at the consulate, which I find very fascinating. Otherwise, he'd be in Ottawa. You know, otherwise, Vancouver is a lot of business, and he's very trade centric. So So that's
Anyways, I think it is 9:59 in a minute. I think we should begin. Akanksha, have you sent the link to all committee groups?
yeah, it's come.
Yeah.
That's great. So I think Ananya, we can now begin if that is
All
okay
right
with you
then.
first.
Yes. I'll just be requesting everyone to keep themselves on mute as we are going to be streaming live on YouTube, and since there will be a speakers list that will come up, I'll just be requesting everyone to be on mute. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ananya Negi, the Sharjah Affairs, and welcome to the 11th edition of Podar Summit. It is my privilege and pleasure on behalf of Podar Summit 2021 to welcome you all here today. Per Angusta ad Augusta, that is, through difficulties to honors, is the ideal we stand by and wish to imbibe in this conference. Only by persevering through travails can one achieve greatness, and we at Podar Summit strive to provide young minds a platform to debate on various issues from around the world. Podar Summit is not just a model United Nations. It is a motivational experience. It is the vision of the Secretariat who worked countless hours, the blood and sweat of the organizing committee, and the industrious service of the executive board. Together, we hope you learn, teach, and thrive at our conference. Now, I'd like to call upon our Director General, being it taking her last minute calls, to never losing her temper, no matter how many times you ask her the same question. The go-to person for every OC member, cheerful, optimistic, and charming. It's Akansha Chatterjee.
Well, thank you, Ananya. And greetings, everybody. I am Akansha Chatterjee, and I am Director General for Podar Summit 2021. India saw a deadly wave of COVID earlier this year, and uncertainty about the future is still making everyone anxious. Through difficulties to honors, this is what Podar Summit is all about this year. Podar Summit has always been very personal to me. I attended my very first MUN, which was Podar Summit in fact in 2019. And the grandeur of the MUN left me awestruck, and I remember being smitten by the way each and every one conducted themselves. However, in committee specifically, I remember being intimidated by everybody. I was so afraid to speak up that when the EB listed my delegation down for GSL, I quietly excused myself and hid myself in the washroom, and I didn't come back for about half an hour. Now, even though I didn't engage with the committee on day one, the soul-touching catering and formal lobbying kept me engaged. On the final day, however, the mere action of raising my placard and voting on behalf of the country sparked self-confidence in me. Now, when I look back to that conference, I remember making new friends, I remember getting inspired, I remember the chill that went down my spine the first time the chairperson said, "Delegates, decadent." And most importantly, I remember enjoying the food. Now, but I realized while writing the speech that I came back a confident person, a more confident person than I was. I was introduced to a version of myself that I never knew existed. I remember being responsible enough to make my own decisions. Podar Summit over the years stands unparalleled and dynamic. We have crafted the 11th edition of this conference with an ever-growing zeal and enthusiasm. I wish you all the best. Try your best, do your best, and at the end of the conference, come out an improved version of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akansha. Next, I'd like to call upon our Deputy Secretary General, spirited, hardworking, and headstrong, that you'll ever cross paths with. His keen interest in geopolitics, international relations, and Indian politics will leave you spellbound. A diligent person with leadership skills, it's
Thank you, Ananya, for the introduction. Good morning, delegates. I welcome each and every one of you to the 11th edition of Podar Summit. By any measure, this year's summit has exceeded expectations. Since its inception in the year 2010, Podar Summit has constantly aimed to create an innovative platform that seeks to enable the younger generation to take on leadership roles and help shape their thinking in the direction of policy formulation. This forum has transformed participants into excellent orators by sharpening their skills over the years and strives to achieve the same this year too. Despite the raging COVID-19 pandemic robbing us of the excitement and pleasure of organizing an offline MEON event, Podar Summit this year still retains its exceptionalism and spectacular glory by incorporating technology to have virtualized sessions from the comfort of your homes. This year, we have tried to provide a unique experience to break the monotony of world politics and international affairs by generating a renewed spark in young minds. This time, we are simulating 8 intricately designed committees discussing pertinent agendas, ranging from cutthroat debate in UNSC and CCC to technical committees like UNODC and WTO, to humanitarian committees like the UNHRC and the UNW, and not to forget the Indian committees, namely AIPPM and MIB. There's something exciting in store for every delegate. The quintessence of Podar Summit lies in its intellectual discussions, tactful negotiations, and of course, meticulously crafted feasible resolutions. The, the 11th edition of Podar Summit and the second online conference aims at carrying forward the legacy of our seniors and making the event better than ever before. I would like to pass on a piece of advice given to me by a senior to all the delegates attending the conference, irrespective of their experience. Walk into the conference with the mindset to learn and adapt and not to win. To say the very least, the Secretariat and the organizing committee of Podar Summit have put in blood, tears, and sweat to make this event a memorable experience for our delegates. We hope you have a thrilling experience during committee sessions that will help enrich the quality of your debate. Wishing all of you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Now, I'm profoundly delighted to introduce the chief guests for the day. Our first chief guest is none other than Mr. Manish, the Consul General of India, Vancouver. As Counselor at the High Commission of India in Colombo from July 2010 to November 2013, he represented India at the Colombo Plan Secretariat and South Asia Cooperative Environment Program, SACEP. During the chairmanship of Indonesia of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, that is IORA, from 2015 to 2017, he represented India in various senior officers' meetings of IORA. In over 22 years of his diplomatic career, he has served in Indian missions in Moscow, Tashkent, Prague, Colombo, and Jakarta. So, without further ado, I would like to call upon Mr. Manish to share a few words of wisdom on this occasion.
Greetings to all the students of R.N. Podar School. Dhruv, thank you very much for inviting me today for this 11th edition of Podar Summit on Model UN for the students of 9th and 12th grade. I'm connecting with you from Vancouver in Western Canada to give you a geographical context of the location I am in. Right now, I'm on 25th June at 8:45 p.m. in the evening. The bright sunny sky. The sunsets here around 9:30, around 9:30, 10. Thank you very much, as I said, for inviting me to address the young students who are doing a mock UN model conference. And I have been given some pointers on which I should address you. Let me begin with my journey in the Indian Foreign Service. I was born in Jharkhand, a small Jharkhand in Ranchi, studied there in St. Francis School in Devghar, and then in Bihar, erstwhile Bihar, also included parts of Jharkhand. Then my journey took me to Rajasthan, Pilani, where I did my 12th grade CBSE board. All of you are doing that same CBSE board. And I landed up in Delhi University, did my physics honors and also bachelor's in law. When you are in a university those days, I think either you did before entering into education system, parents encouraged you to either do engineering or medicine after your 12th grade. And during your bachelor's days, all the civil services, all the people were doing writing exams for civil services. That's how it encouraged, I mean, people from Bihar, UP, AP, others, all of us lived together and entered into civil services. I joined the civil services in 97 and chose foreign service as my career option. And as a foreign service officer, I have the opportunity which you have already know that I served in various capacities all over the globe. Mostly, this is my first innings in the Northern Americas. I came here last year in August and have been here for about 9 months. Western Canada, I look after my consular jurisdiction, which includes British Columbia, where Vancouver is located. Capital is Victoria, which is an island here. And then Alberta, Saskatchewan, Yukon, and Northwest Territory. The primary work we do here is the consular work because there is a large diaspora population here. And about 1.6 million Indo-Canadians are present here. And in my jurisdiction, about 600,000 Indians are there. So primary work, primary responsibility for us is to take care of our diaspora. And let me briefly touch upon our philosophy of our engagement or our working. We work on the philosophy of 4 C's: connect, care, contribute, and celebrate. Not in that order: connect, care, celebrate, and contribute. I think this 4C can be a good mantra for all of you when you are starting your career and starting in a concentric circle outwards. You can use this in your day life. Connect. Like today we are connecting. You can connect with your society, your locality. You can take care of your immediate environment ecosystem where you are in. You can contribute, celebrate by taking pride in your being Indian, celebrating various festivals of your neighbors, your people of different religions, or you can contribute back to your mother country. Each one of you, I would urge, should be proud to be an Indian. And when you are starting your career now, and very soon, some of you will be joining the universities, or some of you would like to come back to study overseas. Some of you would be coming to Canadian universities also. But keep one thing in mind: you have to keep your feet grounded and have to see and contribute to your country. Any decision, anything which you do should be in consonance with our policy, of our society, what we can contribute to our society. As I said, in my current position, we have several intense diaspora engagement. We also use public diplomacy tools. And 21st June was International Day of Yoga, 7th edition of International Day of Yoga. And as you know that in 2015, if I'm correct, 2015, United Nations resolution was introduced by India. And in this multilateral context, I think more than 170 countries supported us, and International Day of Yoga was adopted as and it is being celebrated. So it is kind of a contribution of India's ancient wisdom, which now global community has adopted in a big way. And on this COVID-19 context, yoga has become quite popular because of its wellness benefits. And as you know, I have worked in United Nations division. That was long time back, back in 2007, 2005, and between 2005 and 7, I served in United Nations political division in the Ministry of External Affairs. I was a young desk officer then, and primarily I was doing peacekeeping related work. India's contribution to international peacekeeping operation has been immense. I think, if I recall correctly, we have contributed our peacekeepers to every peacekeeping mission around the globe. And our soldiers, our police officers are well regarded. And to share some facts about you, and although most of you are participating today, would have done immense research on this. We were the signatories of the League of Nations in 1990. Then we went on to sign the Declaration of United Nations in Washington, D.C., when 26 allied nations countries signed this initiative in January 1942. We also signed the Declaration of the United Nations, and our representative, Mr. Bajpayee, G.S. Bajpayee, who was the ICS, India's diplomatic representative in United Nations, signed it. So we are founders, members of all the Bretton Woods institutions, be it IMF, World Bank, or we are members of all the specialized body of the UN. We are the founding members of the WTO. We took initiative in the nuclear disarmament, universal nuclear disarmament. We had a very important role in decolonization efforts or anti-apartheid movement. And the most important thing which we did is empowerment of women. I would like here to highlight that in 1948, Indian delegate Hansa Mehta initiated gender equality in the UN, in the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, by proposing that all human beings are created equal, and instead of all men. So gender equality was also a contribution of Indian policymakers then in the United Nations context. As I have already mentioned, that our contribution to UN peacekeeping has been quite intense, and here I would like to share an anecdote that which I'm very proud of. That while I was a desk officer as undersecretary, we processed a request from United Nations to contribute a fully formed police unit, first female formed police unit in Liberia. Liberia was in need of a battalion, and we deployed 105 women peacekeepers from Central Reserve Police Force. They stayed there for about 10 years, and their behavior, their contribution empowered the women in Liberia. And the president of the Liberia, when our unit was leaving in 2016, were high praise for the role played by the Indian women. And by then, 17% of all the Liberian security forces were comprised of women. So I think that today's mock drill, which you are doing over 2 days, will give you understanding of multilateral diplomatic skills. You would learn how to understand the problem, the issues, the political background of each issues, the historical context, what are the point of view of others. So as I earlier mentioned, you would be kind of the 4C factor would be in play also, where you connect with people, care for their views, and then you kind of celebrate with them, and then after give and take, you come to a position on it. I'll stop here. I think I wish all the participants all the very best in the mock UN model conference today, and would love to be part of the discussion which would follow my remarks. Thank you very much once again for inviting me, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much for sharing such valuable knowledge with us today, sir. We'll now move on to any questions that people may have in the meeting. Good morning, Manish sir. I'm Khushi, Head of Public Relations. You mentioned that you were handling UN matters for over a year. Would you like to share any of your experience or talk about any one incident with us?
As I mentioned in my brief remark, my job in the United Nations Political Division, basically in the MEA structure, you have two separate divisions. One handling the political aspect of the UN, and the other division handles the socio-economic issues. So, Security Council related, I handle the peacekeeping matters, and a lot of, as I said, my job was to contribute peacekeeping troops to various missions. And this anecdote or this incident of contribution of first female formed police unit in Liberia was I made those notes and sought approvals, and Ministry of Home Affairs interministerial consultation happened, and finally we contributed this all women team, which went on to stay from 2007 to 2016, and their role, I mean, you can do a research. The way they contributed to that Liberian society is remarkable. And if I recall correctly, the first lady commander of this unit was Seema Dhundia, I think, if I recall correctly. And I had chance to meet her before she left. So this is a very impressive experience for me in terms of our contribution to the general peace and security in the global context. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good morning, sir. I have another question. I'm Trisha. You have done BSc honors in physics and Bachelor's of Law from Mumbai University besides acing UPSC. What is one advice you would give to all the students who wish to crack through this competition?
UPSC civil services examination needs, you have to be familiar with the basics because whatever you are learning now in your school curriculum, that becomes very handy in your general knowledge papers or your any subject you take like geography or sciences or this thing. So you have to be familiar with the basics, and of course you need to have a strategy because any exam has to be cracked with a strategy. So you have to choose your options very carefully, and of course patience and hard work is this thing. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. This is Manya. I have a question for you as well. So you have served in the Ministry of External Affairs as in a division handling overseas Indian affairs. And as you mentioned in your speech, Canada has had a large Indian diaspora. So if you could please elaborate on India's policy on diaspora engagement.
India is one of the few countries in the world who has a stated diaspora policy. I think if you recall, Prime Minister, then former Prime Minister Vajpayee, during his tenure, we created a Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs, which later on in 2016-17 got merged into Ministry of External Affairs. So I would like to hear that the former External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj ji, her philosophy of taking care of diaspora, as I said, you have to take care of them, you have to connect with them, you have to celebrate with them, and diaspora has to ultimately to contribute back to their motherland. So caring comes in the form of, when people are in distress, or we issue various consular services, passport, visas, women in distress, for example, you can connect, when COVID pandemic started, a lot of Indians got stranded overseas. So we negotiated with various countries and started this Vande Bharat mission flights to repatriate Indians back. So this is an example of caring and connect. So connection can happen in various forms. Here, as my role as Consul General, I keep connecting with the community. People from various provinces of India have migrated to Canada. Canada has 1.6 million Indian diaspora, and my province would be about 6 to 700,000. People from Punjab, Haryana, Jammu Kashmir, a whole province. So you connect with them, you celebrate with them. Like we have started. Next year would be our anniversary of 75th anniversaries of India's independence. So there is a big global celebration going on, and all the High Commission, consulates, and embassies will be celebrating that. And it is a matter of pride. So we are connecting with the diaspora to bring to the Canadians. Similarly, other countries will bring to their own host country what all we have achieved in last 75 years, and not only in the field of art, heritage, culture, what we have given to the world or what are our socioeconomic development, advancement. So we will build around these themes, and this, I think I think you as a student of Podar school should also kind of celebrate that. And as a youth, I think we have also to take oath, Independence 2.0. How do you see India in 2047 when we celebrate our 100 years of this thing? So these are various ways we connect with. We reach out to gurdwaras, temple, mosque. The diaspora is kind of a bridge between India and the country they have adopted. They contribute quite a bit. If you think that the largest remittance which we received is from overseas Indian in 2019-20, surpassing China. About 80 billion worth of contribution remittances came back to our economy. A lot of 30 million Indians are living abroad in various countries, including Gulf, North America, Pacific places. So diaspora is a important aspect, and we lot of our outreach activities, celebrating various festivals or soft power like yoga or International Day of Violence on Gandhi Jayanti. So we kind of partner with each other to bring the message. And of course, diaspora has also become very important because people have acquired immense knowledge, skills as say medical professionals or scientists or academics. Top CEOs of Fortune 500 are all Indian origin. So you sync your domestic policy and leverage their strength to bring that knowledge and skills for India's socio-economic development. So that is a broad brush I thought would be useful for you guys.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, so because of the time crunch, we won't be able to ask more questions, but thank you so much, Mr. Manish, for joining us on this occasion. We are very pleased to have you with us. Now, I would be honored to introduce our second chief guest, who is none other than Mr. Virat Singh, the Indian ambassador to the Republic of Tajikistan. Mr. Virat Singh took charge as ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Republic of India to the Republic of Tajikistan on June 29, 2019. He presented his credentials to the President of the Republic of Tajikistan on 31st July the same year. Throughout his career, he has served in various capacities at the headquarters of the Ministry of External Affairs in North America, Central Europe, and Public Diplomacy divisions. As director, he was involved in the occupation and operationalization of Jawaharlal Nehru Bhavan, the new headquarters of the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi. So, without delay, I would like to call upon Mr. Virat Singh to enlighten us with a few words on this occasion.
Good morning, and I'm delighted to be here with you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be with you today. I remember not so long ago, I probably was in the same position that you all are in, at the crossroads of my school and university period, is wondering what should I do. So I'm delighted that I have today reached the stage where I could be offering advice to young people like me. So as the moderator has introduced, I'm the Indian ambassador to Tajikistan. I've been here 2 years, and this is my second stint here. I have primarily served in this region, in Iran, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and I've come back here again. I speak the local language. All of us learn a local language. Mine is Persian, and all these countries that I've served in, they speak a variant of Persian language. So I'm very comfortable in this region, and I like this region. My colleague and my batchmate Manish has already touched upon issues related to India's engagement with the United Nations. I thought that I will speak to you a little bit about the qualities of a diplomat. You see, like in all walks of life, give and take is a very important aspect of any human interaction. Whether you are in a family setting, whether you are with your relatives, with your school friends, with people in your societies where you live, there's always an element of negotiation, of understanding, of appreciation, of putting forth and putting across your points of view. So this is really what a diplomat does at a more macro level, at the level of the representative of his state. So it is very important to have qualities such as empathy, understanding, appreciation, listening to other people, not being forthright with your own views, not saying things that come to your mind at the outset, because words do more harms. Words can do more harm than good, and therefore one has to be very guarded when interacting with people. In today's world, the mantra seems to be that you kind of go all out with your views and you become a go-getter, and especially in the private sector, that's the way people interact with each other. It's most often it comes across as a zero-sum game, but in diplomacy it really isn't. You have to kind of make allowances for other people. These are not normal human interactions. These are interactions at level of societies, and therefore, be patient, learn to listen, learn to appreciate the other fellow's point of view, because only then do you get an understanding of what is it that is motivating him or her or that particular country to put across that point of view. And then your own negotiating strategy becomes better. So that is something that, I would advise all of you. You are all young people. I know you are all very impatient, and the society demands of you to be impatient, and it rewards people who are impatient in some senses. But in diplomacy, impatience doesn't work. In fact, very often we diplomats wonder that what are we doing? Because unlike in many other places and many other professions, the fruits of our efforts are not immediate. We are negotiating, let's say, I don't know, agreement for extradition of people. Maybe for many years there would not be any extradition from any particular country to your country, but that doesn't mean you have negotiated something which is absolutely of no benefit or use. I'm gonna just go inside because they're doing some work outside my residence, and I think that would be disturbing for all of you. So I'll just step inside. Sorry for that. So as I was saying, these are the qualities that I would request all of you pay a little bit of attention to. Coming to other aspects of what a diplomat does. A diplomat is really a representative of his country to the country that he is accredited to. And in that sense, he is representing the best that is there for his country to offer. Many times, we will be required to exaggerate our capabilities and our accomplishments. But a very important quality of a diplomat is to be credible and trustworthy. Believe me, in this profession, if you lose your credibility, then you really won't get very far. So credibility, trustworthiness is something else that I would advise all of you to build in your own, systems, in your ethos. Coming to other aspects of a diplomat, adaptability is very important, because you live in various societies which are very different. Normal tenure of a diplomat is approximately 3 years. And after 3 years, you move to a society which is at total variance with what you may or may not have been experiencing in the past. So, fortunately for me, I have lived in societies which are very similar. These three countries that I have lived in are all part of the Persian-speaking world. So their culture and ethos is very similar to each other as well as to India. But my colleague Manish has had much more varied experiences. So I would advise you to be more receptive to ideas and scenarios that you are exposed to. I mean, if some of you would be interested in joining the civil services, I would definitely encourage you. It's a great profession. I myself was not particularly keen on joining the civil services. My dad was a civil servant, and I saw his life, and whatever studies I had done, and I was in those courses, I was exposed to private sector, and I was the normal talk used to be the government is very inefficient, and the private sector is very efficient. We should get to private sector. So I did try my hand at private sector for 3 months, and I lived in the city, Bombay, where I think most of you are from. But coming from a small town and having lived in hostels all my life, I realized that this life was not for me. And I went back and I did an effort and I got in there, and I've never regretted it. It's a great experience. It exposes you to various new kinds of ideas, people, thoughts, cultures, and you realize there's so much that you don't know. And an inquisitive mind is of great value and benefit in the profession of diplomacy. While I was speaking for diplomacy, many of these qualities that I have discussed are equally applicable to other professions because the world is so interconnected now. You in your positions in various corporate positions, working for NGOs or working for private sector, for corporate houses, you would all be interacting more and more with people from various parts of the world. So keeping in mind, keeping these things that I have discussed in your interaction, in your engagement with them would definitely be of help. Besides that, I really don't know what to say except to say that the exercise that you are doing, I wish I had been able to do it. I have never had the occasion to sit on any multilateral bodies meeting, not even a mock one. But it's a delightful experience, and I will end my remarks with an anecdote that somebody told me about UN once, and why it is very important to be focused when you are interacting in a large group of varied people. This was told to me by a former boss of mine who was accredited to the United Nations Atomic Agency in Vienna. So there they were discussing about shipment of certain items to Afghanistan. And one of the items that was, and they were saying these items can be used to create, nuclear material, etc. And one of the items that was being discussed was kerosene, because it seems the kerosene is required to heat some of the items, which could then go into, being used for production of nuclear material. So people were discussing this, and they were saying that we need to stop sending kerosene to Afghanistan. So this Iranian gentleman was, I believe, listening to the whole exercise, and then after a little while, he raised his hand and said, "Gentlemen, what are we discussing? Are we discussing, how to stop nuclear material getting into the hands of all the bad people, or are we discussing stopping sale of kerosene to these poor people in Afghanistan who don't have access to electricity, who don't have access to firewood, and who probably rely on kerosene to burn the stove in the house on which the food is cooked?" So nobody had an answer to that. So, one has to be very practical and caring and concerning when looking at various issues. So
I believe Mr. Virat Singh has a few internet connection problems, so we'll just be waiting for 5 minutes for him to rejoin. So everyone, requesting everyone to just wait. Yes.
So the fact that all of you are so enthusiastic and interested in this kind of a human exercise is itself very heartening, and it gives a great hope and reassurance to all of us who are now in our middle ages that the country is in good hands of our youth. Thank you very much, and good luck to all of you for today's mini UN summit, and good luck to all of you for your future careers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Virat Singh, for providing such important advice to everyone present here. We'll now be moving on to questions. So if anyone has any questions in the meeting currently, they can go ahead.
Good morning. I don't quite know the time of the day there, Excellency.
I'm just half an hour behind you.
Okay, fantastic. So good morning, sir. I specifically want to ask you, first of all, it was an honor hearing you speak, and even Excellency Manish from the Canadian Council.
Don't call us excellencies. You can address us by our names. Excellencies is when we interact with people on the other side. You are our country. We are normal people here for you.
Doro, sir, but out of consideration, I just have a question, sir. So you're posted in Tajikistan, and how much of a colonial hangover that you observe in terms of, say, in context of USSR in everyday life in Tajik society? And just a sort of follow up to that, since we don't know too much about Indians in Tajikistan, how do they contribute to society at large? I'd just love to understand this. Yeah.
Right. So you see, like we were colonized by the British, the Tajiks and the Central Asian countries were colonized by the Russians. Now, unlike us, who only adopted the British systems and the processes, the Tajik society was adopted even their culture and tradition. So the influence of the Russian society and culture in these countries is tremendous. Us as a societal level, we maintained our tradition, customs, culture, religion. That didn't happen here. So while people, did remain in a sense, of various ethnicities, they adopted a common Soviet culture, and under that, the marriages, the customs, the names, the traditions, all became very universal across Soviet Union. So post-independence, and it was a big challenge for these countries to try and create an identity for themselves. So the various Central Asian countries, including Tajikistan, have been kind of trying to rediscover their history and identity and culture. So that is why there is a lot of emphasis now on, finding what about the historical roots, on developing the Tajik language, which really didn't get developed during the Soviet period because Russian, was the lingua franca here. And there's a lot of effort that has been made. Tajik, this is my second time here. When I was here the first time, you would get many more people would be speaking in Russian because they didn't know Tajik that well. And the government communication to the embassies would use invented. But that process of identity creation has gone on in this country. Numbers of Russian people who are there in the Tajik society have come down considerably. Many of them have migrated to Russia for better prospects, economic prospects, or because their relations were there, or for some other reasons that they were here. So the number of the Russian influence that way is considerably less. But Russia and Tajik systems are very integrated. The Tajiks look to go towards Russia for all kinds of assistance, aid, processes. So like I'll give you an example. under the COVAX mechanism, the Covishield vaccine from AstraZeneca, from Serum Institute, was supplied to Tajikistan. But it didn't pick up very much over here, partly because there was not much incidence of coronavirus here. But second thing was also because these people were waiting for the Sputnik vaccine. They have more faith in the Russian system. They know that system. They, the medical colleges here still teach the way medicine is taught in the Russian universities. So that influence is there, that association is there, but it is not a very strong association as it is in the Soviet time. Coming to your second question about Indians in Tajikistan, we have about 1,800 Indians over here. Most of them are students. These are students who have come to study medicine here. There are approximately 1,400 students here for a 5-year course. And then there are embassy personnel and there are some Indian businessmen. So contribution of the Indian community, as far as that is concerned, it's considerable because these Indian businessmen are primarily involved in the business of pharmaceuticals. So they bring a lot of pharmaceuticals from India, and India is the largest, exporter of pharmaceuticals to Tajikistan. So they contribute about 30% of the pharma sales of in the Tajik market. So that's a very big plus, even though in absolute number terms, the trade figure is not large. It is only about $60 million, but still that is considerable. And that the reason for that is because of the geographical problems that we have. We have Pakistan, through which transit is difficult, and sometimes also through Iran because of the US sanctions. But it's a small country, neighboring country of India, with which India has had historical ties. Some of the Mughals actually came from northern Afghanistan, Uzbekistan region. So the language and the culture is very similar. 50% of the language is the same as Hindi, the vocabulary. So it's an important country. It's a neighboring country. It's important in the context of Afghanistan. It's a neighbor of Afghanistan. So it has relevance for us. Thank you very much. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, sir. It just makes me ponder over the fact that how much like a post-colonial society still has that going for them. And like it reminds me specifically of what Vladimir Putin said a few years ago, where he spoke about those who don't miss the USSR don't have a heart, but those who want it back don't have a brain. So I just think it's very fascinating.
You're absolutely right. There are a lot of people over here who yearn for the Soviet period. I mean, because the ensuing period has been difficult economically for many people, and Soviet period, for all its faults or all its difficulties, was a very good period for them. For a small country which doesn't have many resources, doesn't have much industrialization, to be part of a larger union was very beneficial. So yes, there is that yearning for it. And then the Tajik, my colleague Manish talked about remittances. The largest number of migrant labor that goes from Tajikistan is to Russia. They go there to work as masons, carpenters, electricians, road builders, crane operators, etc. So it's still a very strong connect between the two countries. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. My name is Anmol Chawla. I am the Deputy Head of Public Relations. I have a question for you. Sir, what made you realize that you wanted to join these services after joining IIT and IIM, which happens to be a dream of a lot of aspiring students?
I didn't want to join, as I said in my remarks. No, I joined IIT, and in IIT, I saw that everybody was trying to get into IIMs. So I said, let me also try and get into IIMs. And I went and studied at IIM. And in IIM, I think it's very important for people to know what they want to do in life. So I joined IIM basically because I thought of it as an academic achievement, not really as a professional career move. I went and studied there. I thought that I will have a flair for doing corporate jobs or business or something of that sort. And I realized I don't really have it. And then, as I said, when I lived in Bombay, and I've lived in hostels all my life, so I'm used to smaller places and all. And Bombay was a very big revelation for me. So, and I was working in ICICI, so I thought probably I won't be able to do this. So I thought maybe let me try my hands at the profession in which my dad has been a civil servant. So I thought of doing civil services, writing civil services exam, and I thought as a backup, if I don't make it, then let me try and see if I can be a professor. I think that life would be quite easy as a professor. So I was doing my PhD and writing the civil services exam, and I got here. Thankfully, I really thank my stars that I did get a couple of marks more or a couple of marks less, because a couple of marks more and I would have been IAS, and a couple of marks less I would have been IPS. And I think God was kind to me that He gave me foreign service. It's a wonderful service, a lot of exposure, a lot of things to learn, a lot of good and interesting people to meet. So it wasn't a conscious move to join the foreign service. It just happened because of my inability to adjust to big cities. Thank you.
So I also have a question for you. So having seen the fact that you've served in multiple places like Tahrir, Kabul, Tajikistan, a lot of other places, most of these places are also considered as unsafe or unstable. So have you ever, or have any of your colleagues or anyone you're aware of ever come across situations which were which did not play out in the best possible manner? Or if you could share any one of those instances or anecdotes. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not by choice that I came here. I got my language is Persian, so you have to go. The first country that you go to get posted to is a country where you study the language. So they sent me to Iran to study the language. And from Iran, then they said that since you studied Persian and Tajik is very similar, so you go to Tajikistan. So they sent me here in 2002. So that was not really because I wanted to come here, but they made me come here in the interest of this organization. And I really enjoyed this place. And then when I was leaving here, I thought to myself that I've already done 2 of the 3 Persian-speaking countries, Iran and Tajikistan. And the work was good here. So I thought that let me try and, if at any point in future I get an opportunity, I like to complete the circle of the 3 Persian-speaking countries and go to Afghanistan as well. And that opportunity I got in 2014 when I was there as the number 2, the Deputy Chief of Mission. So, I have come, I've been in service now almost 25 years, and I've come to really like this area. That's because the people are very nice, very warm-hearted, caring, loving, very well disposed to Indians. And the work is good. The quality of work that you end up doing in some of the neighboring countries is tremendous. And you can see, if you are able to make a difference in the lives of the people over here, or in the relationship between India and that particular country. So it's been very challenging and rewarding at the same time. You were asking me of any particular instances, so I can relate a few, including one in which I personally was involved. In Afghanistan, India is heavily targeted. So, we have our embassy in Kabul, and we have 4 consulates. So while I was there, all the places, experienced attacks and, bombings. I personally, I remember it was, I think, 30th of May 2017. And you can, if you want, you can search for the video on the YouTube. It's a pretty spectacular video. When a truck bomb went off about maybe 250 meters from our embassy, and all the windows and all the doors of the embassy were all blown away. I got injured a little, not much, but so when that happens, your normal reaction is that you don't feel scared, or you say, oh, what is this? So you're kind of very composed and calm, and you just go about doing your job. We were all moved to our safe house, the bunker that we had in the embassy. Everybody was calm and quiet, and we're joking with each other. And a couple of days later, when the ambassador asked, does anybody want to go back after this experience? Nobody opted to go back. It's just duty. You take it in that spirit. You continue working, and you accept that this is a possibility that you might encounter. But it's part of life. You take it in your stride and you work. I can tell you one more. Our consul general in Herat, his the consulate and all the staff used to live in the same building. The consulate was also there. The residences were also there. All the stations in Kabul are non-family stations. So he usually used to sleep in the bedroom, but that particular night, for some reason, he decided to sleep in the drawing room. And late at night, at around 2 o'clock or something, there was a rocket that was fired at the consulate, which landed in his bedroom. So he got saved purely because of the fact that he was not sleeping in the bedroom that evening. And then they had a huge, fight. Some people jumped into the consulate. One fellow was shot when he was one terrorist was shot when he was about 20 feet from a particular guard who was manning a post. And it went on till the morning. So these things happened in all the consulates and also. But you take it in your stride. You say, it's nothing to worry. I've opted for this. Let me do my job. That's it. I hope I was able to answer your question, Dhruv.
Yes, so it also motivates all of us to have that same amount of patriotism to our country and just take it in our
I'll tell you,
stride.
it's not just patriotism. It's your sense of duty. Whenever you are faced with a challenging situation, you will also realize in your careers that when you'll be working, whenever you'll be faced with a challenging situation, normal human response is to stay one's ground and do one's job. And this is something that we don't realize it as young when we are young, but when you will start working, you will realize that this is what I have signed up for, and come hell or high water, this is what I'm expected to deliver, and I will deliver. So this is nothing extraordinary that I did. It's just the way humans are made.
Thank you so much, Mr. Virat Singh, for joining us on this occasion. We are delighted to have you here. Yes, sir, you're audible. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to call upon our Director Principal, Samnita Beer ma'am, to address the gathering present here and enlighten us with a few words of wisdom.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
Thank you, Ananya, and a very, very warm welcome. Good morning to all of you. Wishing you the very best for the next 2 days. I know we've, I think we started on a very difficult note, having overcome that big challenge and being here today in this auspicious, gathering. I think it gives me a great sense of pride that, it's going to be one, I'm very sure that it's going to be a great summit. Secondly, the fact that we roughed through a very difficult beginning, it's going to add more impetus to the summit. So a very warm welcome to the 11th edition. And when I heard that it's 11th, it took me back to the first year when we initiated Podar Summit. And I know that I was initially had a lot of misgivings about a model United Nations, primarily because I felt that it was more a show of, I mean, in the sense of, how do we want to have it, and not really what goes into a Podar Summit. I wasn't very sure whether students had that sense of maturity. But with every passing year, I find that Podar Summit has acquired even more, I think it has acquired more maturity. It has acquired more a sense of responsibility. And that has come from the fact that, it has become a legacy, and everybody wants to, every successive edition of Podar Summit recognizes that it is a legacy and they have to carry it forward. So that gives me, as an educator, it gives me a great sense of pride. So, of course, it was conceived with the idea of providing students a forum for addressing global concerns in a real world context. And in that sense, it has become a force to reckon with. And I know that when an event is organized by the students of Anand Podar School, one can be sure it will have some new and unique elements, and it will intellectually challenge and stimulate the minds of all who are part of it. So the Podar Summit 2021, I think it has very timely and relevant agendas in each committee, and this will make sure that the summit is kept, and that the delegates are kept on their toes, and that there's going to be extensive research that will go into all the ideas that are going to be discussed and deliberated. I say this at every summit, and I want to repeat this because it's very important. All eyes are on the youth of a country that boasts of a very large demographic dividend. This youth has always been seen as the future of tomorrow, in which any investment would pay huge dividends. And Podar Summit seeks to open the world to the youth and give them an opportunity to change its face. A wholly student-focused event, conceived, organized, and implemented by students. From designing the event, the motto, which I really thought was very relevant, it says, through difficulties to honors. Very, very apt at this time. The motto, the logo, to creating the right degree of buzz, from squeezing time out of busy schedules and priorities, the students handle the task with an amazing sense of ownership. And for me, that's, as an educator, that's the big win here. Using a fine combination of impeccable language with the right amount of wit, humor, to make light of a huge responsibility, these students demonstrate the vast energies of the youth waiting to be tapped and channelized in the right direction. For today's session, listening to the two very eminent chief guests that we've had, and I've really enjoyed listening to every word that they have shared with us, starting with Mr. Manish, Consul General Manish, and his emphasis on the 4 C's. I think, it's not just what they said, it's not just about, being patriotic. It's about how do you shape as a human being, okay? So in every aspect of your life, if you have the 4 C's that he spoke about, and as Ambassador Virat Singh said, the qualities of empathy, understanding, appreciation of others, these are the qualities that you think a diplomat would have. But these are qualities that every human being in every sphere of life, if they have these qualities, that is what will hold them in good stead. It's not about, the skills will come, but these qualities of a human being are required in every sphere of life. Whichever role that you take up, you may or may not be in the civil services, you may or may not be in the diplomatic services, but wherever you are, okay, whichever field that you choose to pursue, I think these are qualities as a human being which will hold you in good stead. And as Ambassador Virat Singh said, that then when a crisis or an opportunity comes your way, you will know what to do. You will know what is the right thing to do. I think that's important, to be able to do the right thing at the right time in any kind of situation. If you can do that, I would call that being successful. Okay, so so I would say that your life is ahead of you, and every opportunity, it could be a small or a big one. Look at every opportunity or every situation as a learning experience. Okay, and keep adding value to yourselves. Okay, whether you're listening to anyone or whether you're speaking to someone, whether it's a crisis, a situation, a difficulty, or a moment of success, how do we deal with it, and what do we take away from every situation, every moment of our lives is what shapes the person that we are. Okay, and so I'm really very happy, and I also love how Ambassador Virat Singh said, very important to, especially as a diplomat, the importance of learning the language that of the place that you are in. So these are skills that you will need to keep acquiring. So while you keep adding value to yourselves, you also need to keep adding skills to yourselves. Okay, as your role in the world keeps becoming broader and broader, so you will. It's not like living a static life. Okay, it's living a dynamic life where you keep on every moment you're adding to yourself. Okay, I particularly also wanted to mention, because this is an online summit. I remember we did have one last year, but I don't know, it's looking more formal this year. It's acquired more finesse, and I was listening to all of you. I was also looking at your website. Very, very well done. I want to compliment you, and it gives me great pride to see the titles on your tiles, Secretary General, Deputy Head of PR, Charge d'Affaires. And it gives me so much hope and promise. And Avirat, thank you very much. As usual, your questions and your thoughts are so incisive. And I would now, I look at you in the light of someone who brings to the juniors, your juniors, the kind of value that maybe any chief guest brings. So thank you for being there for us always. Thank you so much and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Veer ma'am, for gracing us with your presence. Lastly, I would like to call upon our Secretary General Dhruv Verma. Dhruv Verma, an able manner and impeccable leader who brings out the best in his team and masters the balance between being appreciative and strict with his team. He has given his blood, sweat, and tears to make Podar Summit 2021 a success, pushing himself harder day by day. Therefore, I would like to call upon our Secretary General Dhruv Verma to say a few words and set the conference open.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Ananya. So I would first off say a very good morning to our Director Principal of Nita Bir ma'am, our Headmistress Nitika Bajaj ma'am, and all the teachers present, delegates, executive board members, organizing committee members, and everyone else who's present here. I would like to convey my heartfelt admiration and gratitude to our chief guest, Mr. Manish and Mr. Viraj, for gracing this conference with their presence. It is my honor and privilege to serve as the Secretary General for the 11th edition of Podar Summit. Over 4 years ago, I was introduced to the world of money, Podar Summit 2018. It left me amazed, spellbound, and with a goal. The goal to be the Secretary General of Podar Summit 2021. Since 2013, Podar Summit has been becoming stronger and overcoming adversities in different magnitudes and forms. With over 350 registrations and a highly experienced executive board from all over the world, and promotional videos from renowned celebrities and singers, Podar Summit 2021 has been toiled on for weeks. And as I sit here giving my opening ceremony speech, it all seems surreal. COVID-19 might have taken away the complete experience of a model UN conference, but one thing that it can never take away from us, as everyone in this meeting has said already, is the ability to grow. We've adapted yet again, and for the first time, we will be offering you 8 committees and with nail-biting agendas. Throughout the span of these 2 days, we will be discussing Islamophobia in Europe, post-election violence in India, the historical Israel-Palestine conflict, and we aim at making this experience as inclusive as possible. The illicit drug trade in Latin America and culmination of heartbreaking conflicts in the Middle East and the plight of women in solitary regimes are eminent issues that will be covered as well. Besides these, WTO will be re-evaluating the debt traps, and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting will be addressing the grievances of the entertainment industry. Our issue of Super Odd, a newsletter that is going to be put together by budding journalists, is also one to look out for. An enthralling night crisis is also going to be revealed later today. Take this conference as an opportunity to learn, to meet new people, to gain experience, and to become better public speakers. Nothing pleases me more than a group of concerned youth who are passionate to make changes by engaging in fruitful debate. I want you to remember that each one of you has the potential to be a confident speaker, a master debater, and I hope that this platform will help you realize your strengths and capabilities. Remember, intellectuals debate and fools argue. Ask yourself, if you have only 60 seconds on the stage, what is the absolute message that you need to send across? Deliver with confidence and deliver with passion. That is what will make you a confident speaker. Debate with divergence and a view of views can only enrich our culture, and I hope to leave this and I hope you all leave this conference with a passion to make a change in the world. Without any further ado, as the Secretary General, with all the powers vested in me as the Secretary General of Podar Summit 2021, I set this conference open.
Thank you so much, Dhruv. As the conference has been declared open, we kindly request all delegates to join the committee sessions provided on their Zoom accounts. We hope you have a great